All right, welcome everybody to the big picture. This episode is about fintech front lines from around the globe. And today we are talking, or we're going to take you on a global tour of fintech innovation from the boardrooms of Sibos to the financial revolution unfolding at Money 2020 in Saudi Arabia and the tech-driven future unveiled at Citex in Dubai. These events aren't just conferences. They were the world's financial systems that are being rewritten in real time. So I want to introduce you to Chris Principe, and we want to get this thing kicked off, and we want to know what is the current pulse of global fintech.
Well, Grant, thank you so much. Chris Principe from Financial IT, and you set the bar really high. And I'm excited because, I get to go to all these different places and see all those things. But what's exciting for me is to share it with you and everyone else. So, yeah, we're going to talk about a wide range of different events, of different things in different places.
Well, we got to get things rolling, and because you've been traveling, my guy. Every time I talk to you, I got to ask. Some people ask what country you're in. You got to ask what time you're in, what country you're in, what's the weather like. I mean, there's so many different things that you've been operating in. So we want to know from you. Let's start from your latest trip. I mean, you've been out. Last time we were talking, I think you're out in Frankfurt, but I'm not sure which one that was. I mean, you know what? I'll give it to you. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, Grant, you're quite right. I mean, for me and for Financial IT, during the spring and the fall, I'm in a different country, different place almost every week for a different event to be able to cover them and bring back to everyone else what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing. But before we get started on that,
Yeah.
I had something that caught my attention that was I thought was quite interesting, and it's a topic that you and I have discussed in the past. So I'm just springing this one on you, but I think you'll like it. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So, so I just happened to be going through some things, and I saw that the World Bank put out some statistics for 2024. And the one that caught my eye were countries with the fastest shrinking population. Okay,
Wow.
right? So that's interesting. And the cause is not immigration, it's immigration. EMIGRATION, right? And
Interesting.
what
Yeah.
what that is defined as, that's the act of a person leaving one's country to settle in another.
Okay.
Okay, so not to be confused with immigration, it's immigration, right? Kind of learned something new myself there also. So what really caught my eye, and I know what will be interesting for you also, is out of the top 20 countries that have the fastest shrinking populations, would you believe or imagine that four of the top 20 countries are Caribbean nations?
Wow. That's interesting knowledge. Yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you and I have talked about that. I guess we could call the brain drain or the physical drain of the youngest and the brightest people really leaving their home countries. A lot of
Mhm.
these, beautiful Caribbean island nations to go to other places to settle, whether it's the U.S. or Europe or any of these different locations. And you'll be surprised, the number two country who has the fastest shrinking population is St. Martin.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Number three, I think is going to shock you even more.
Okay. I'm preparing myself.
Okay. Because number three is St. Vincent.
St. Vincent.
Yep.
Wow.
And you and I both know how much the U.S. Virgin Islands mean to us and mean to the Caribbean and to so many things that we see really being the future of the region. And to see that number 13 is St. Vincent, and then tie that together with number 17 being St. Croix.
There's just a lot of change going on in the islands. So now it begs the question, like, what's causing that?
Well, again, what the World Bank says the number one reason or the major reason is that people are leaving their place of birth, their home countries, and moving and relocating permanently to other places. And I would imagine that both St. Vincent and St. Croix, that a lot of that immigration is to the U.S. stateside,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they have the advantage of U.S. passports. It's hop on a plane and you're there. There's no immigration customs or any of these things that you have to go through, and you can work. You don't have to worry about having the proper work permit or the proper visa or any of these things. So
Yeah.
to that extent, it makes some sense to me. So the fourth country on the list, number 20, is Dominica.
Okay, the island country of Dominica, the small
Yes.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of interesting when I look at it, I see St. Martin, which I always think of as being more French in nature.
Mm-hmm.
We have St. Vincent and St. Croix, which certainly, are territories of the US, so English in nature. And then Dominica, I view as being Spanish in nature. So
Mm-hmm.
it also speaks to the broad range of cultures and languages and activities that go on in the Caribbean nations themselves.
All these things are so important to understand. And then, because I love the island, everybody loves the islands, but when you live on an island, you realize you have limited resources. There's certain things as far as living there all the time that you're not privy to. I mean, so you're like, you know what? I want to expand more. I want to see more. I want to go somewhere where when we're going to visit there from a vacation standpoint, you're only down there for a short period of time. But if you're living there for months and years and decades at a time, I can see island fever might be a little bit, you get some happy feet. You want to go somewhere else. But I tell you one thing, people love where they come from. They love going back. I see St. Croix, like we were just talking about that, during the holidays that are coming up, Christmas holidays that are coming up, that a lot of the islanders will come back and really, have a great time and have that camaraderie that takes place. Now, here's the big question. How does that all tie into your world travels, World Bank, FinTech world? Where are you going with this?
Well, Grant, I mean, to me, what it speaks to, and that, we have special places in both our hearts for the U.S. Virgin Islands and the Caribbean in general. And it really just speaks to the challenges that are down there. And you brought it up very nicely. When you live full time in one of the islands, any one of these countries, generally there are things that here stateside we get easily and take for granted that have to be imported there, right? I mean, there are some of the islands that actually import water, right? Because there's no natural fresh water there. So where I'm going with this is the importance of Carib Connect and the shipping that they're going to be doing, the inter-island shipping routes that they're going to be doing, that I think will become a big benefit. And I think in a lot of cases, if it's easier and less expensive for people living in the different island nations to be able to get certain products that are not naturally there or not manufactured there or not grown there, that this can encourage them to actually stay where they want to stay and be able to build a life, a family, a neighborhood, a country. So to me, it's that being able to do that inter-island shipping can be such an important component. I don't think that we can really be able to understand the benefits until it actually happens.
100%. And there's a lot of change that is coming or is happening now economically that makes it even, better. And I've talked to a lot of different people around that. Like, all right, the reasons, there's a lot of reasons why you would want to leave, but not permanently leave. I was like, to go different places and then spend quality time wherever I would like to spend quality time, but not have to sacrifice from an experience standpoint. To your point, like I still want to be able to get certain things when I need them, and I don't want to go to an island where that can be a stress point. But when you have global shipping, you have logistics, you're making things easier and better. And we've often talked about this from a finance perspective, when you can do things quicker and at scale, and you could transfer not only goods and services, but money very quickly. This is going to be a game changer. So we start seeing the Caribbean in a different light. And we all know that artificial intelligence and AI, if you start embedding that in finance and you start seeing tokenized assets, then they're not just experiments. These are just becoming infrastructure, as we've seen with stable coins that are happening in the from the U.S. They're passing a lot of legislation just this year. We can see better credit decisions. We can start seeing that de-risking that you saw with the traditional banks. It's starting to change. I want to know from you, what have you found? What have you, great traveler, as you've gone out to all these different worlds, what can you bring back to the island world that we need to know about when it comes to global finance and trade?
Well, Grant, first, that whole last part of the very interesting comments from you is bread and butter for me. That's what I live for. That's what I enjoy, is talking about all that fintech space and all the great things that technology allows us to benefit from. But why don't we look to take a quick break, and we can come back, and I'm going to take you on a trip to Frankfurt for one of the truly great events of the year.
I think that sounds like a great idea. Let's make that happen. So we'll take a short break and we'll be right back.
Now, to continue our little tour of some of the booths of Sibos, standing behind me is the BNP Paribas booth. And BNP Paribas is one of the well-known institutions in the world. It's the biggest French bank. And really, they've done quite an interesting job with their booth. Look at the wraparound under the archway here, as well as the big screen. Really, well done, BNP Paribas. And I don't want you to think Sibos is only the big banks. There's other authorities here, like the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. And look, they have a booth. It's quite inviting. It's very open and quite busy with a beautiful screen there. This really shows you the quality and what is represents the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. And I don't want to leave out a lot of really dynamic companies. They're a little smaller, but booths after booth after booth of vendors and suppliers who really are helping make this ecosystem a really dynamic one. And it's so great to see. If we go all the way down this line, there's just companies that have developed interesting products, filled interesting business needs, and continue to do so. Another interesting bank here comes out of the UK called Crown Asians Bank. And they have a booth. It's very global. And the nature of SWIFT and the nature of Sibos is global. In fact, Sibos is in a different part of the world every year. Really interesting, quite amazing. And this is a good representative of how Sibos is so international. And also to give you an idea of how international Sibos really is, we have our friends here from Down Under. One of the most important banks down there, it's ANZ, Australian New Zealand Bank. And they have a booth, very exceptional, and they've come a long way. And that's really, again, what Sibos is all about. Because if we can look here, you can see they're set up and they're ready to do business. And that's the purpose of Sibos. We want to see good business done. So now we've come around the corner and we're at one of the big and impressive booths and it's ICBC, one of the top banks in China. These guys are experts in international business, and they're really a big contributor to the global banking community. And they have many people that have been here today and that who are working quite hard and doing all the good things that we want to see. And then there's this beautiful background over here that kind of pulls Germany and China together, which is appropriate because it's a big Chinese bank and we're in Frankfurt, Germany. So ICBC, thank you very much for being here, and we really appreciate the work and time and effort into your booth. So here's a really exceptional booth, and it's the European Central Bank. And one of the things that makes it really exceptional is that this in Frankfurt here is the home to the European Central Bank. So this is their backyard, and they've been such kind hosts. We really are happy, and we want to say thank you from everyone at Sibos to Frankfurt and to the European Central Bank. And then as we move along, we literally cross across the hall, similar to like crossing across the ocean. And these are our friends up in Canada, Royal Bank of Canada. Look at the beautiful booth that they have. Really very welcoming, very nice. And our neighbors to the north. Okay, so we're seeing a lot of Sibos, some of the different booths. Now we're at one of the big vendors, which is Fiserv. Company's been around for a long time, really good. And I have my good friend, Paul, with me.
Great to see you.
Who's, at Sibos, you get to see a lot of friends, right?
That's right. It's a great experience.
It is. It's really nice. So we're going to continue our tour, but we will be back here to enjoy some of the hospitality of Fiserv.
All right, come by
We'll see
anytime.
you shortly.
See you later.
Thanks. Okay, now as we keep walking, we're going to come up to a little piece of New York, and that's NASDAQ. NASDAQ is here at Sibos. You see the variety that Sibos brings around, and for me, as a New Yorker in origin, it's really special to see the offices and booth of NASDAQ. And as we flip around to the other side, we have Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Company, one of the big, long-time Japanese banks that really does a great job for the global community. And they have a very beautiful open booth. And as you can see on their screen, one of the things that they do is trade finance, which is very special to me. So now we cross back to the other side of the world, and we have the booth of the Commercial Bank of Dubai. Great things are happening in the Middle East. This is one of the leading banks, and this bank has been instrumental in bringing the East and West together. Really a good bank, and one of the ones that we're really happy have shown up here at Sibos.
All right, Chris. So let's start with Sibos, which is the biggest annual banking and payments conference, which is organized by SWIFT. And this year's theme is all about future of money movement. So, Chris, give our audience a sense of what happens at Sibos.
Well, Grant, you know what? I honestly have to tell you that this is my favorite event of the year. And this year was extra special for me because it was my 20th Sibos that I've attended. Okay. Going back to last century. Okay.
Okay. We're not dating yourself, but okay. I got it.
I don't have a choice. I'm already dated. But with Sibos, what's really interesting is it's the SWIFT customer event, basically, is how it started. And it's in a different place of the world every year. They rotate between Europe, North America, Asia, back around again with a couple of other places in between. So it's very global in nature, and it's very appropriate because it's the biggest show for international bankers, which is one of the reasons why it's a show I've attended so often and enjoyed so much. In fact, some years ago, I wrote an article when Sibos was in Dubai.
Yeah.
And my article was Sibos is my Super Bowl. Okay, so that gives you some idea, where my heart is when it comes to Sibos. Now, what's interesting that a lot of people may not know about SWIFT is actually SWIFT is owned by the banks themselves. SWIFT is a consortium. So every bank that transacts on SWIFT owns a piece of SWIFT.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so it makes it, in a lot of ways, it's very safe and secure, and it is the most safe and securest way of moving money. It is the ultimate financial messaging system, right? But it also makes it very difficult for other companies to try to come in there and maybe use technology to do some things better. Okay, those things will always be kind of. Yeah, we're using SWIFT, and yeah, we'll use you for some things, right? And a good example of that might be Ripple, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where Ripple also has secure messaging and can facilitate the movement of money. So that's one of the things with Sibos. And then as an international banker, and I've been to Sibos as a banker, as a fintech, as a financial software provider, as a consultant, and of course, as media, financial IT. So I've been able to see so many different views that it gives me an interesting perspective when I'm going there. So one of the things that I did while I was there in Frankfurt is I was invited to the ringing of the bell for the Frankfurt Stock Exchange.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which was pretty cool, I thought, because I've been to in New York a number of times in New York to the ringing of the bell, going back into the 90s. I've actually been to the ringing of the bell in Hong Kong at the Hong Kong Exchange and in Singapore at the Singapore Exchange, right? So, yes, of course, I jumped at the opportunity to be able to be there for the Frankfurt. I will have to say that while it was a very nice event and it's beautiful building. I mean, and facilities there for the traders are pretty tremendous. It's much smaller than, well, certainly the New York Stock Exchange. I don't know if there's anybody that is bigger anyway. I think they're the biggest, but really out of any of the other ones.
Yeah.
So it was a much, and I guess that speaks to, trading volumes out of there and everything else. And again, keep in mind, as mentioned in the video, that this is the home of the European Central Bank. So this is the home of the euro.
Right. Aha. That's an aha moment. The home of the euro. I got it.
Right. So the currency of euro, which is the number 2 currency in the world after the dollar, is really based out of Frankfurt. So kind of an appropriate location to have an event like Sibos.
Now, to me, the hot topics.
Yes, hot topics.
Yeah, the blockchain, the interoperability, the rise of AI and fraud detection. That's like kind of the plumbing, of finance, right? And I know they're redesigning those pipes. What did you find out that kind of shocked you, or you think the audience really would want to know that you learned at Sibos?
I will tell you, for me, there were first, those topics that you mentioned are always strong topics because they're important. Let me not minimize any of that. But in spending time at Sibos itself and listening to the buzz of the floor, right? AI was a strong topic. It will be a strong topic probably for the next 3, 4, 5 years, right? But a little bit more surprising for me was how much buzz there was about tokenization stable coins,
Hmm.
and to a lesser extent, quantum computing.
Really?
So really interesting for me that those were kind of the lead topics, because you and I have covered these things on past big picture shows.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So we talk about what interests us. That's what you and I do.
Yeah.
And it seems what interests us now is interesting to a lot of other people. But let me just give you what to me was the real aha moment, right?
Okay.
Okay, so banks traditionally move slow. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, when I worked for some of these very large financial software companies, we used to always say all the time that every bank wants the latest and greatest second.
Yeah.
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 Nobody wants to be first. It's risky.
Second.
Banks are risk adverse. Okay.
Yeah,
The banking
no
business
doubt.
is
No
risk
doubt.
management, right?
Right.
So my surprise and really kind of opened my eyes was how fast these banks are moving into the stablecoin arena. And of course, it's driven by the new regulation and legislation that's come out of the US, a few months ago.
Okay.
But we've seen regulation come into play in the past. I have never in my life seen banks actually moving and doing. That's the key word, okay? Doing like I see what's going on with stable coins right now. Really quite extraordinary for me.
I'm liking that. I'm loving that, as a matter of fact, because the normal everyday world has been operating in this new fintech world of especially like cryptocurrencies, things of that nature, because it's easier. We're going how we started out talking about the island life, how that happens and what's taking place. Well, because you have so many different entities in the Caribbean, different countries that are represented, different currencies that are taking place. How do you have one currency that everybody agrees on? Everybody would be like, oh my God, that would be great. We're not dealing with pesos and dollars and francs and pounds. And we can just look at this one thing and everybody knows a dollar is a dollar. A dollar is a dollar. I'm loving this whole stable coin conversation happening at these big banking conferences, because that is how you get things happen. People, and I've talked about this before, and I keep bringing it up because the only reason why you can go to an ATM just about anywhere in the world, put your card in, and get money out of it, because the banks came together and made that happen and said, okay, we agreed upon this protocol and we agree how this is going to work. If they agree on how these stable coins are going to work and how you can be utilized, and then that time it takes to do transactions decreases considerably, we began to have new conversations around what can be done in these worlds. I'm sure you agree with that.
Well, Grant, you know what? I can just feel your passion and excitement about this. I know you're right out in front about this. Certainly, the benefit it can be to the Caribbean in general, we're going to see is going to be tremendous. And you're quite right, about each and every one of these things. Let me just mention a couple of things though. The ATM system,
yeah,
the banks restrict our money. With stable coins, there's no cap. In other words, the banks restrict our money. Technology doesn't care, right? Technology, it doesn't care if it's 1 million or it's 1. It's a number. But the banks restrict it. You can only take out, I don't know, $1,000 a day. But with stable
they have
coins,
to have someone that's reserved. They don't. There's reasons behind that.
Well, yes, they have their reasons. But at the end of the day, for me personally, I look at it and say, well, it's my money. I should be able to do what I want. I don't care what your reasons are.
Yeah.
But I can say that. They don't listen. But with stable coins, right, there's no limit on the amounts that you can move from person to person. And keep in mind that the ATM system, which goes back to the 70s, by the way, works well. You can get money anywhere. But if you want to pay somebody,
yeah,
you have to wait till there's banking hours.
Yeah.
Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Occasionally, there's a couple of banks that might even do one or two things for you on Saturday, but don't push it, right? Stable coins, I can go 24/7, and if I owe you $2, Grant, I can send it to you any day, weekend, doesn't matter.
Doesn't worry about time, space, all these things that are restrictions from traditional banking world kind of goes away. We're going to come back and unpack that even more. We're going to go to a quick break. We're going to come back because this is starting to get juicy, Chris. This is sounding very good.
Grant, when we come back, I'm going to start right off with just a little bit of stablecoin facts coming from JPMC. That's right. We'll come back with those facts, and then during the next segment, I'm going to take us to Dubai. There you go, Grant.
Sounds good.
Third Wall Street is a new emerging global capital markets formation and structured trifactor financial hub at the U.S. Third Border in St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands, in the Caribbean and Latin America. The new Third Wall Street is the home of the Alexander Hamilton Financial Center and named in honor of Alexander Hamilton, an American founding father, first U.S. Treasury Secretary, and architect of the U.S. financial system and modern America. Third Wall Street is located in a U.S. National Heritage Area, Opportunity Zone, and the boyhood home of Alexander Hamilton in St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Island, connecting 3 financial hubs in the Americas by way of new innovative financial technology and markets: New York Wall Street South, Brickell Avenue, Miami, and Third Wall Street in St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands, and established the new Caribbean Americas Single Economy Zone, developed by SETI Case Capital Markets. Third Wall Street will transform financial markets, improving access to capital worldwide. Visit www.thirdwallstreet.com to learn more.
The difference between influence and legacy, it's the platform that carries your voice. You're not visible because you lack talent. You're visible because your brand doesn't speak. I've built 5-star BD&M to change that. Most leaders have the expertise, but not the presence, the vision, but not the vehicle. Across 3 cities, one brand is helping leaders rise above the noise. Here in the heart of Omaha, strategy isn't left to chance. It's engineered with precision. In Omaha, we engineered your Zachner brand, AI-powered, data-driven, precise. TISA went from a local nonprofit to a national speaker in 90 days. We don't guess your brand strategy, we build it. On the shores of St. Croix, your brand takes on depth and meaning, shaped through curated retreats and legacy experiences. In St. Croix, strategy becomes soul. Our retreats don't just refine your message, they rediscover your mission. One founder rewrote his entire company story here. Funding followed 30 days later. This is where leaders remember who they were meant to be. In vibrant Miami, momentum meets amplification, transforming your voice into a movement. In Miami, your brand becomes a movement. Business development accelerators, audience building. Joy came with an old website and an outdated company name, but she left with 5,000 followers and a waiting list. This is where you scale with soul. 3 cities, 1 mission. your legacy ignited. It started with a thread. Let's pull it together. Stop blending and start leading. 5-Star BDM, where legacy is engineered, embodied, and ignited. Visit 5starbdm.com and book your brand audit today.
Hey, Chris, you left us on a bit of a cliffhanger, before break. You got everybody like wondering, like, all right, Chris, we see you're this big international traveler and you've been learning a lot and you're sharing that knowledge with us. And you're talking about stable coins and how they're taking place at Sibos. And this is a big, big, big buzz. And now you're talking about how this is really going to take shape. Give us more.
Yeah, Grant, thank you so much, because I've got a doozy for you, because this is coming directly from JP Morgan Chase, right? One of the top 4 banks in the US, one of the top banks in the world.
Yeah.
And if any of us have a little memory of Mr. Jamie Dimon, who is the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, a few years ago called crypto a scam. And then, like the next day, his bank went out and bought $30 million worth of Bitcoin. Okay. Coincidence, But coming from JP Morgan Chase to actually put out some interesting information when it comes to stablecoins, the first thing that they're saying is that bank issued tokens or stablecoins, right, will surpass in transaction volume the way that we're moving money today.
Wow.
Okay,
that's a big statement.
It's a big statement. It's a big, and it gets better, right? Okay, so it's rather than using crypto native like Bitcoin or Ethereum, they're looking at the stable coins, right? So JP Morgan estimates, they project that by 2030, the bulk of payments will all be with stable coins. I would disagree. I would say that it's going to happen 2 or 3 years earlier. Okay. They also say that they expect that in 5 years, so again, 2030, that $1.9 trillion worth of payments will be with stable coins. I also disagree. I would say by 2030, I would be shocked if it's not double that, and in the $4 to even $5 trillion mark, because the volume is out there today. That volume is out there.
Let me ask you this, Chris, because those are big numbers, but why is this gigantic shift in platform to stablecoin?
Well, Grant, there's so many benefits. I mean, the first benefit, and let's not kid ourselves, the only reason this is happening is because the U.S. has put in place back at the end of the springtime regulations with the Genius Act, with a couple of others, that now makes it structured in a legal way so that the banks can get involved and don't have any fear of repercussions, right? So that's where it all starts right now. And by the way, stable coins have been around for more than 5 years. They're not new. Okay. The regulation now allows the banks to be able to be players in this. And as I said earlier in the show, it's shocking to me how fast and aggressive they are being in this field.
Yeah.
what's not shocking is they need to be, Grant. Otherwise, they will lose the payments business. They will lose the whole settlement business, which is such a big part of banking. They will lose the cross-border payment business. Again, such a big. They will lose the FX business, foreign exchange. All these things are at risk for the banks. They're all fee generation businesses. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why I say that is because the banks really have two key ways of making money. One is by lending and collecting interest on the money they lend, right? Everyone thinks about bank loans, mortgages, these kind of products. And the other is in being able to do fee-based services. Mm-hmm. So you're making a payment, you're collecting a payment, you're exchanging from dollars to euros, any of these kind of services and processes. So if one half of that goes away, it's a big deal for each and every one. Okay, now that explains why the banks. Now, why stable coins? Okay, because and Grant, you said it very well before, and very simply, which is a dollar is a dollar, right? And in this case, one stable coin is backed by $1. So the value of the stable coin never changes from being equal to $1. And the reason they're able to do that is that the stable coins, to be a stable coin, you have to have the collateral to back it up. So in other words, you have to have those dollars. If you have 100 stable coins, the issuer needs to have $100 to back up every stable coin. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. There's no leverage involved with this, as we see in other areas and other services. So that becomes a key thing. So when
wait a minute, because what you said is very, very important. That the stable coin, this has been a big thing in the crypto world. It is backed by a fiat currency. That is huge. So now you're not dealing with fictitious money, so to speak. It's just like the same coins you have in your pocket or the dollars in your wallet, or what you may have in your actual traditional checking or savings account is equivalent to what you have in a crypto wallet, right?
Exactly, Grant. There's no volatility at all with stable coins, as you have with other crypto, which basically trades in a similar manner to stocks on the stock market. Right? They can go up and down. You can gain value, you can lose value, right? So this is a key thing. And I know right now we keep talking about a dollar is a dollar. And the reason we talk about that in stable coins, because you're correct when you just said it can be any fiat currency. Okay. But the reason we talk so much a dollar is a dollar is more than 90% of the stable coin market right now is backed by the US dollar. Okay. The euro, there is a euro backed stable coin, but we're generally going to see that is what I would call a regional currency. It'll be a stable coin that has great application within payments and being able to collect money inside the Eurozone. It's not going to play as well outside. Okay. Also, for instance, China, the number 3 currency, which is the renminbi or the domestic yuan, right? Yeah. China has issued their own stable coin. They've been using it through selected areas of China already. It's already in use. But again, the same thing. There can be some global usage, but it'll be minimal. It'll be primarily. Now, what's interesting is one of the other the Genius Act is one of the other regulations prevents the U.S. government from ever issuing a U.S. government stablecoin. Okay, still can be a dollar-backed stablecoin. It just can't be issued from the U.S. government, unlike in China, where it's issued from the Chinese government. Okay, why? Because here in the United States, the big concern is not necessarily that the U.S. government is not going to back a U.S. government issued stable coin. Of course it will. We have the money and we'll print more if we need it, right? So that's not the issue. The issue is more a privacy issue. It's more of a usage issue. It's more a visibility issue. The U.S. government would then have the ability to control and see and view and, if they want to, interfere with any transactions you and I want to do.
Mm.
So
Makes
that's
a big,
why
big difference. We're going to go to break right quick, Chris. We're going to come back. We're going to finish off this conversation because you've got a lot more you're talking about because you've won these other shows. We want to definitely dive into that before we wrap up. So we'll be right back in just a moment.
In today's fast-paced financial landscape, access to capital is the key to success. At the heart of this revolution is Case Capital Markets, powered by SETI Case. Here, innovation and investment converge, creating a dynamic environment where businesses can thrive and reach new heights. Introducing Grant McGaw, the senior advisor at Case Capital Markets. Grant is a visionary leader, dedicated to connecting businesses with institutional capital and strategic funding. His expertise opens doors to game-changing investment opportunities, making him an invaluable partner for companies looking to scale and succeed in the competitive world of finance. With an impressive 25 years in technology, 9 years in healthcare, and 6 years in investment banking, Grant McGaw has a proven track record. He has successfully closed over $500 million in high-value transactions, seamlessly bridging technology, healthcare, and infrastructure with innovative financial solutions. His experience is a testament to his ability to drive success. Case Capital Markets offers businesses direct access to over 32,000 venture capital firms, private equity funds, family offices, and institutional investors. This network empowers mid-market companies with under $100 million in revenue to scale beyond their limits, unlocking unprecedented growth potential. Debt, equity, growth capital, public offerings. These are the building blocks of the future of capital access. Whether you're scaling a business, seeking investment, or exploring market expansion, Grant McGaw is your trusted partner. Together, you can unlock capital and create long-term financial success. The future belongs to those who take action. Are you ready to elevate your business?
Hey, we got a chance to say a little bit about your journey, what you've been doing over the last 30 days or more. Give us more information, man. To educate us, Chris. What tell us about Dubai and your other locations you've been to.
Well, Grant, I just got to tell you that the level of excitement and activity in the Middle East is just off the charts when you think about the size of the country. So this event, JITEX, has been going on for years. I've been there a few times. It feels like double the size it was last year. There was over 60,000 people. The event was so big. It was at the World Trade Center they have there, which is huge. It has 24 different halls, all filled. They even had another location where they had more people that was about 20 minutes away. The good news is the government of Dubai is building a whole brand new convention center with this event in mind that's right near the new airport. There's the Dubai airport, which everyone knows, quite famous, one of the best airports in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And the new airport is called the Maktoum Airport, which is on the other side of Dubai, closer to going to Abu Dhabi. So this new convention center will be right there so that they can get more use out of that airport and increase the traffic, but also to have more room for the event. So every big software company, technology company, big bank, financial institution were there. And then there were literally hundreds and hundreds of smaller companies, as you can see a little bit from the video. And it's more of a technology event. But what I really found interesting is that there's fintech in everything. Because, for instance, you saw some of they had some huge drones. They had military vehicles that are autonomous. They had cars and stuff. But all these things need to be financed, Grant.
Yeah.
So fintech is everywhere, right? So it's really, really critical that these kind of events go on so you can go out there and really see all these things. So I just want to give you a little statistic about fintech right now, right? So the global fintech funding market, right? For the third quarter, which just recently ended, did almost $9 billion of private tech-driven investment, which already passes up. 2025 has already passed up what's been invested in 2024, and we still have 1 quarter to go. There's the whole fourth quarter still to go. So if that doesn't tell you the level of excitement, money's exciting, Grant. and when people are pouring money into something, it's because it's exciting. So that for me is really interesting. The other thing I want to tell you about is there's another great event that I'm going to be going to the first week of November. It's called Hong Kong FinTech Week, right? And this is where Asia shows off. Okay, so we are in Dubai in the Middle East, and Dubai is a showplace city. Okay, really is. I mean, everyone should get a chance to go there because it's amazing. Interesting thing, Dubai right now is leading in fintech, but in September I went to the Money 2020 event in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has their eyes set on being #1 in fintech in the Middle East. So the competition between Saudi and Dubai has begun. Okay. And I'll just say Dubai is better equipped. Saudi has more money. Let's see who wins in the end. Okay. But now with the Hong Kong FinTech Week, that's coming up for me. I'm excited. Asia will show out. It's going to be a huge event. We're going to see all kinds of things. One of the things that I saw at JITEX I just want to touch on is, there's the big Chinese technology company in telecom called Huawei, right? And, they've had their issues with the U.S. government and with Google and all these kind of things. Well, you might be familiar with the Samsung phone that opens up and it's like a little screen.
Sure. Okay.
At JITEX, Huawei showed a phone that opens up with 3 screens.
3 screens.
Oh my God! It was and still light, thin, but it opens up to like
functional. It wasn't overwhelming. Okay.
So it's amazing what's going on there. I just people love their phones, so I just thought.
Quick question, because it came on. What is the equivalent of these conferences in the U.S.?
Well, coming right up, and actually I'll be there Monday and Tuesday, is the Money 2020 event in Las Vegas. They're expecting probably close to 40,000 people. That would be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Bitcoin conference, which has always just been in the U.S., that next year is actually going to go to Europe and going to go to Asia, because that conference, and it's a Bitcoin-based conference, has grown from the first time I went, which was under 5,000 people just 3 years ago, to now over 30,000 people. And now they're branching out and going into different worlds. There's another event called Consensus, which has been out of Toronto. Mm-hmm. And again, another event that, like, it seems like overnight went from a couple of thousand to 30,000. All of these are fintech events that, really highlight all the things that we're talking about. And what I'm expecting, Grant, is there to be a ton of talk about stable coins and tokenization in all those events.
I love it. And I want people to really understand that we are in a evolution of how we have traditionally conducted ourselves from a finance world and from a technology. And you have said this so many times that the finance tech sector is the biggest consumer of technology. Even they have bigger teams that we talk about, like in Microsoft and things like that. That says a lot. So they are leading the way. So when you start seeing these things really take shape, how the investment dollars are going in to these new innovations that we are taking advantage of, this is huge. We've got to pay attention to what is changing and it's changing quickly. So whether you're, and you have been in the halls of Sibos or the bold ideas of Money 2020 or the high tech experimentation we're seeing at GTEx, the message, I believe, is clear. Fintech is no longer the future, it's the foundation. And the next generation of finance is faster, it's smarter, it's more inclusive, and the Caribbean has a real chance to lead. This is the big picture. I'm Grant McGaugh. I'm with Chris Principe. We're reminding you that the future of money isn't somewhere else, it's being built right here. Last second that you have, Chris.
Grant, I just want to talk about one quick thing about AI, because it's big. We haven't talked about it. I had a personal AI experience that it was really interesting to me. Hong Kong FinTech Week has an AI agent that you call up and actually helps you set up appointments, helps you to different events that are happening, helps you with sessions. And you talk to this AI, I got to tell you, I was like a real person. The way she was answering me, the inflection in her voice, the saying, oh, you know what? I think this might help you. I got to tell you, I was blown away by it, and that's just the start of things.
That is agentic AI. That is a game changer. People, don't sleep on what is happening in this world. I want to thank everybody again. Tune in again next week. We'll be here with me and Chris.
Thanks, Grant.
Take care.
Welcome to our TV network, your ultimate destination for all things exciting and essential. From mouth-watering food to the latest in fashion, health, education, music, movies, and news, plus thrilling sports and breathtaking travel. Our TV network brings it all to you. Tune in today and experience the best of every world, all in one place, rtv.network.